Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, Season 3, Episode 2. So yeah, we're here with another episode, and I'm excited to see what more we've got. So it seems like we're going to be heading towards the Crimson Wastes this time around. Both Team She-Ra and Team Catra seem to be headed there, of course. I mean, that just, you can't have it any other way. Of course, they have to be headed in the same place and come into contact. But while a lot of shows would do that very artificially and like kind of force that idea, this one actually feels natural and the reason it's doing it. Because both sides need to head there for different reasons. Team She-Ra is heading there to try and find out the secrets of Mara, the previous holder of the She-Ra power. And Team Catra is headed there. Well, I think it's just Catra, but I don't know. Scorpio might try to tag along. Catra's headed there because of basically, when you get down to it, punishment. Because Catra kind of betrayed, in a way, the Horde, and Hordak is sending her there to retrieve some First One's tech for him and Entrapta, while basically understanding that it could be sending her to her death. So yeah, that's fun. This season is only 6 episodes, though, which makes me kind of feel that this part might be a little rushed. That they might rush this entire thing with the Crimson Waste. But I have no clue, because I have no clue where this is going to go. All I know is that, again, I do know that a new character is coming in, and I assume that it's going to have something to do with the Crimson Waste. I don't know how, but otherwise I don't really know anything about what's coming up at all, which, as always, is how I like it. So we're just going to get into this and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back into the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so things are not going exactly where I expected them to, on either front. So there's 2 main aspects to this episode, and both of them are vastly interesting. Let's start with the main plot, because I think I actually have more to talk about with the B plot. Not that the main plot's not interesting or anything, just the B plot really gets those cogs working. So the A plot, we have Team She-Ra, Adora, Glimmer, and Bow, arriving in the Crimson Wastes. They start searching around, but all they find is really freaky plants and really freaky animals. But they do end up stumbling upon an actual habited area. This kind of oasis of a bar, just kind of in the middle of nowhere. So they enter, and this is where they come across Huntara. Now, as I mentioned, I did know about Huntara before, because, yeah, I just saw it while scrolling social media and all. So I did know about her. I know she's voiced by Gina Davis. I didn't know what to expect from her character, though. Like, I didn't know anything about who she was going to be or anything like that. All I knew that it was that she's a thing. So they meet Huntara, and Huntara is like this kind of strong badass type character. She agrees to help them get to the middle of the Crimson Wastes, but leads them into an ambush and traps them down a hole while stealing their stuff. Thanks to Glimmer's power, they manage to escape. They manage to overtake Huntara and her team, her associates, and in the end, even convince her to truly help them this time when they kind of coax out of her the fact that she is afraid of the Horde. So, Huntara apparently used to be part of the Horde, but she, like, what she saw there, as she put, made her afraid. And so she defected and ran off to the Crimson Wastes, probably assuming that it'd be the only safe place for her. Plus she probably just wanted to get away from everything. So she's been living there ever since and kind of making a tough name for herself. We also see that she has heard of She-Ra before, that she knows about She-Ra, but didn't seem to know She-Ra was a person, so I don't think she's as knowledgeable as she could be. But she does help, and she leads them at the very end to what is apparently Mara's ship. So this could lead to some very big answers. But then we have the B plot. Entrapta and Hordak. And are they trying to give these two fucking shipping fuel? Because that's hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. Like, the face she gave him. Seriously? When encouraging him and telling him that it's okay to be flawed, she makes that face and it's like, it's all sparkly and everything. It's like, oh, come on. And here's the thing. I mentioned it in the reaction, like, what if she happened to redeem him? And that wasn't just some off-the-cuff comment, not just some random joke. I'm actually curious about that. What if she does redeem him? What if she basically shows him what friendship can be, basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, and shows him how valuable it can be to just be himself and be comfortable with who he is and not need to try and win back Horde Prime's favor. What if she ends up redeeming him and that just ends up solving the problem? What if Entrapta basically solves that problem? Because here's the thing. With the reveal of Horde Prime, I don't think Hordak is the main villain anymore. Or at least not the endgame villain. I have this strong feeling that Horde Prime is going to be. That Hordak, even especially with this idea of having Hordak possibly redeemed by Entrapta, what if that happens and Hordak actually has to help everyone take on Horde Prime? And of course, going with the thought I still have that, of course, Scorpion and Catra are going to be redeemed. And we've seen that Shadow Weaver is now working with the good guys. At least begrudgingly working with them to just get revenge and shit. What if in the end it's basically like everyone we've seen, all the good guys, all the bad guys, coming together to have to face the forces of Horde Prime? I would actually love that. Like, that would be fantastic, because the way this was set up in this episode almost seemed like it was just this offhanded thing. Because we see, and we've seen in the past, that Hordak is having issues. And we see in this episode that it's getting really bad, that he can barely stand without, like, having issues, you know, without getting deeply injured and shit. at this point. Basically I guess you could say health is failing. And so we see Entrapta help him with his armor that sustains him and actually make it stronger and more powerful. And we find out that he is like this not because of any injury or anything he's sustained in the past, but because of just who he is. This is just how he is. And this was a big lore moment, like massive. Hordak, someone who has been the main antagonist this entire time, is revealed to be a simple clone. The clone of this emperor named Horde Prime. Horde Prime wanted to conquer pretty much everything, and to do so, he created an army of clones. And suddenly, this has become Star Wars. But no, he created an army of clones. But Hordak was defective. Things didn't quite go right with the cloning process, and he was basically an outcast because of it. And one day he just kind of was teleported. A portal opened up and teleported him to Etheria without any explanation. It just kind of happened. And I'm thinking it probably has something to do with Mara. But he's teleported to Etheria, and somehow at that point makes like the Horde. He creates this army of his own. And his goal at this point is to create a portal to get back to Horde Prime and prove to him that he's not just this defective waste, that he actually is worth something. And while this series has had a lot of fascinating ideas and concepts and just general plot points, this is one of the most fascinating. Because in one episode, hell, not even a full episode, in just one short bit of lore drop, it not only humanizes Hordak, something that has been kind of played with a little bit before this, but has not really been done to the extent it does here. It kind of humanizes him. It sets up the possibility of redemption for him, and it sets up a new endgame villain. Because let's be honest, revealing Horde Prime completely takes away the idea of Hordak as the endgame boss, as the final villain. Hordak, because here's the thing, the endgame villain has to be the biggest threat. The endgame villain has to be like the end game, the one who everything is leading up to. And if Hordak himself reveals that there is someone not only stronger than him, like physically and probably intellectually, but reveals that he's just a literally defective clone of that person, then it doesn't necessarily take away Hordak's intimidation necessarily, because he still has an intimidation factor, but it makes him less intimidating simply by creating someone who is more intimidating. It creates a character, it gives us a character who there is a bigger pull for as an endgame villain. There's a bigger, like, it's just Horde Prime in his mere existence is made to be an endgame boss. And again, whether Hordak teams with the good guys or not, I think that that's going to be a major plot point for that. So the question is, how is this going to all happen? Is Horde Prime going to invade Etheria? Is the portals going to, like, be the factor that brings it in? Maybe Hordak will succeed in getting the portal going, he'll go to kind of prove himself to Horde Prime, but Horde Prime will like reject him again. And that's when he'll have to turn to, well, Bright Moon, basically. And with everything that Team She-Ra's doing with finding out more about Mara, I definitely think there's some kind of connection there. And I'm still thinking that maybe Mara was behind the portal that transported Hordak here in the first place. There's a lot of questions that are raised with what we found out in this episode. Now, I have been told by some of you that this season apparently is really damn good and that I'm going to want to binge it. I'm going to try not to, because I actually prefer to watch shows one episode at a time, week by week. I actually think it's a better viewing experience overall. I'm going to try not to binge this, but if 1 week comes along and it's just like I have to continue, then I will. I think I've done that with previous seasons. But it's only 6 episodes, too. You have to take that into account. And it's like, where the hell is this going to go? Because revealing Hordak as not being the endgame boss with this episode, or at least that's how it should end up going, based on everything that was built up here, that's insane, because that's a game changer. Because the first 2 seasons, everything was telling us Hordak is the main bad guy. Hordak's the truest form of evil here on this planet. And then we find out about the other planets and stuff, and find out that Hordak is trying to get to them and get his main army and shit. Like the true Horde army. And that builds him up even more as being intimidating and threatening. But then we find out in this, in one fell swoop, that he's not trying to get his army. He's trying to get Horde Prime's army that he worked with. He's trying to get Horde Prime back in his side, and all of them will come and conquer Etheria and shit. And I don't think it's going to work for him. I don't. So, yeah, this was a fantastic episode and really gets the cogs turning. Really gets you thinking about where this is going to go and what's going to happen now. And I'm just really curious as to what they're planning. Like, I don't know how many seasons that they have planned for this. I don't know, like, what they're expecting to do with all of it. Because there's a lot that they still can do. There's a lot that still needs to be figured out. And now there's the Horde Prime stuff that needs to be properly and gradually integrated in. They can't rush it at this point. I could probably see another 2, maybe 3 seasons. The only way I think they could go past that, though, is if they either stretched it out to just a kind of ridiculous degree, or if they didn't make Horde Prime the final villain, and he was just the final villain of, like, one part of the show. Sort of like, you know, Dragon Ball Z style. It's like, it's Vegeta and Nappa, or mainly just Vegeta, then Frieza, then Cell, then Boo. It's like all of these main villains, and everyone else before them are just either like fake outs or just, you know, not a main villain. But it goes like from main villain to main villain, and it's like different arcs and stuff, basically. And I don't think She-Ra's going to do that. I think that they're going to try to tell one cohesive main story with this. And I think it's going to be like a set thing, sort of like Gravity Falls. Just one set story that has a planned end, and I'm hoping that they do have that already planned and figured out. Because again, 2 or 3 more seasons would be perfect to finish setting everything up, to finish getting all the information on Mara and Horde Prime, and to set up the final battle with, presumably and hopefully, Horde Prime. It's just, again, I think stretching it out any further than that would be a little much. But we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power Season 3. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you want to check out any of my social media links and more, please check them out over to the side. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave those down below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much once again for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.